this film, well, this film wasn't really very good, so I'll make the review relatively quick. Well, let's just start with the introduction. Now, the introduction, the first 15 minutes of the film, were probably the best 15 minutes of the film, and, well, that's pretty saddening, actually. The best part of the film was definitely Ben Whishaw. I did feel he was one of the best parts of Skyfall, and thankfully he had more dialogue in this film. That's one thing, dialogue in this film. The dialogue, the screenplay, was pretty damn crap. Honestly, there was not a lot of dialogue in the film anyway. Dave Batista's character was definitely something. I feel this has probably harmed his career, which is it's not something I want to see, because I do like him. I liked him before he came into acting. I liked him in Guardians. I wanted him to do great, and they gave him really nothing to work with. They're a very camp type of character. I don't really know how to describe him without spoiling the film, and I don't want to do that. So he was not particularly great, unfortunately. Daniel Craig as well, he gave a performance that we've come to expect. It was a good performance from him, but the film can't just be solely based on him. He needs a good set of supporting characters, and he didn't have that. The characters in this film, Monica Bellucci was in this film for maybe 10 minutes, if you're lucky, and they were promoting her like she was in the film for like an absolute mass amount of time, and that she was a Bond woman, not just a Bond girl, and that the women in this film were different from most Bond girls before them, but they just weren't in any way. I would say it was one of the most stereotypical Bond girls that could happen. Eva Green was pretty kick-ass, and compared to Léa Seydoux, who people are saying is a breakout performance for her, I would say that's absolute rubbish. I do not see how this is breakout for her in any way. She gave a stale performance compared to Alicia Vikander, who was in Man from U.N.C.L.E. She was in Ex Machina. I'm just comparing spy movies here. She was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and I actually preferred that film a lot more to Spectre in every single way. Rebecca Ferguson in Mission Impossible 5. Mission Impossible 5 was a very good film, and she was also kick-ass in it, and that is a breakout role for her. But this was not a breakout role for Léa Seydoux, not in any way at all. I didn't really understand her character fully. She had this really weird arc shift on one scene on the train where she just like almost flipped a switch and decided to like Bond after all, which made no sense because she was completely against him before that, it seemed. And honestly, I would have to say this film was a 12A or PG-13, whatever it is in other countries, and it should not have been that. This film should have been a 15 for sure. I know in the promotional stuff, the actors were asked, would you bring your child to this film? And a lot of them said no. And I see why, because I wouldn't bring my 8-year-old cousin to see this film in any way, because there was far too much violence in this film, to be quite honest. And on the directing side of it, the same guy, Sam Mendes, directed Skyfall as well. And you can see this was trying to emulate Skyfall. It was a knockoff Skyfall, and it didn't do it well enough. The directing was off kiln so many times. There were points in this film where there would be a scene in a super dark room, and within an instant you'd be in a bright outdoor scene, and it just pulled you out of the film. And this didn't just happen once or twice. This happened a handful of times, and it completely ruined my experience of the film because it pulled you out every single time it happened. And I know people who love the film. I don't know how you love this film, but each to their own. Also, there was almost no character development in this film at all for any other character apart from Bond. You got a different type of villain in Christoph Waltz, who I love Christoph Waltz, I absolutely adore this guy. And he did something different with the Bond villain, but it felt like a very cliche type of villain. It felt campy, just like Dave Batista used the word campy, which is strange for someone like Dave Batista to be describing him like that, but it was very much so, and I think they underutilized him completely. They could have made him so menacing, they could have made him so different, and they decided to not put him at the forefront of the film, which they should have done. I would also say this film left you wanting a lot more. It was, and that's not saying that in a positive way at all, I'm saying that in a very negative way. I'm saying the film was almost like a trailer for a film that didn't happen. That's how people described some other films this year. That's how I would describe this film for sure. I think I use that to describe Fantastic Four, and I would use that same connotation to describe this. They could have just done without this film in the Bond franchise. They could have done it without it, because Skyfall was the best Bond film, in my opinion, of all time, and Casino Royale, Daniel Craig again, is probably in my top 3 or 4 Bond films. Let's not talk about Quantum of Solace. This wasn't that bad. I know you might be thinking he's bashing this film so much, and I am. But it wasn't Quantum of Solace bad, trust me. But it still was a bad film, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to give this. So, it might change, but right now, I'm thinking this film would get a floundering 5 out of 10. Now, 5 out of 10 means, for me, if someone came to me and said, "Oh, have you seen the new Bond film?" and I say yes, they say, "Oh, do you want to see it?" I would say, "I've already seen it once, I don't want to see it again." It was a fine film. I could have done without having seen it, to be quite honest with you. Didn't add anything else to the Bond franchise. So 5 out of 10 is what I'd give it. I wouldn't go see it a second time. Take from that what you will, and if you did enjoy this video, please do like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel down here. Down here. If you didn't, well, who knows, maybe Bond will come after you. I don't know. Maybe Q will come give you a hug. I would like that. So just subscribe anyway, he might come give you a hug, I don't know. Now, I have been Narendra the Comic, you have been great, and I'll see you next time. Skadoosh.